Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous Hour. My name's Dave, forever an alcoholic. Could we start off, Billy, by saying a big thanks to yourself and everybody here at the radio.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, and thanks for having us here again in the new year.
We thought we'd better have you back,
Spread the word. We'll spread the word. Shortly going to be introducing one of our members who are going to share their story with us. But before I do that, I'd like to ask Dec to read the preamble, which is something that we use at the start of every meeting. And this tells you very simply what AA is, what it does, and I guess what it doesn't do. Dec.
Thanks, Dave. My name is Dec and I'm an alcoholic. This is the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve the common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Well done, Dec. Thanks very much. And could we now get our guests today to introduce themselves, please?
Good morning. My name is Sharon, and my home group is West Heath, and I'm here today to share my experience, strength, and hope. Thanks
for coming along, Sharon. Really appreciate that. And could you start us off giving us some idea about where you're from, your childhood, and all that sort of stuff, your background?
Yes, certainly. So my name's Sharon. I'm an alcoholic, and I have been in the fellowship since 2005. I haven't been sober since then.
Okay, we'll come on to that.
Yeah. So my background: I was born in Birmingham. I was born in 1972. Born in 1972. I'm a twin. My twin isn't an alcoholic, although he likes to drink. And I had an elder brother who was 2 years older than me, but sadly he died 3 years ago, coming up this week, of alcoholism, found dead. But anyway, so born in 1972, just born in a council home on the Franklin estate. Sadly, my mum left when I was 6, so she left the family home, and she left me and my twin brother and my dad. And my dad brought us up. He was in the army, so he was quite a disciplinary person, very strict. And my dad coped. I always remember the time that my mum left, and we, as children, were crying on the top of the stairs, and it broke my dad. It broke the family. I'm not saying that that's why I'm an alcoholic today, but I will say that alcoholism does run in my family. And it's my nan and granddad, and it's on both sides. It's both sides of the family. And so I was very close to my twin brother, and when my mum left, I kind of took the role of the mum, really, in the family home. But only a few weeks later, my dad met a younger woman, a woman that was a lot younger than him, and he moved her in with her daughter. And unfortunately, she had some health issues as well, so that took a lot of the time up in the family. My dad having a new relationship, so we became invisible, really. There was a lot of dysfunction in my family, and we were brought up where you were seen and not heard, and if you cried, you got something to cry for, which is sad, really. And when I speak about that now...
Sounds familiar, my childhood.
My dad, he did the best he could, but what happened in our family, it's generational, where my dad had the same upbringing, and I dare say his his dad did. So I try not to blame my dad today. I try to, you learn to forgive, don't you, in AA. And my dad was away a lot in the army, and I didn't get on with my dad's wife, if I'm honest. And my elder brother, he caused a lot of destruction in the home, and he was asked to leave. And the same with myself, so I left home. Well, I was told I had to leave at 15. So I did, and I was when I say I just left the home and I had to try and fend for myself at 15. And there was a new child in the family. My dad and his partner, his wife, they had a daughter. So I've got a stepdaughter and a stepsister a half sister as well. But I left the family home at 15. I didn't go back for 26 years.
Wow. So what did you do at 15 to
Well,
go?
I got into a relationship with a person who was a lot older than myself, and it was a very violent relationship. My dad was and it's sad to say, and I know this is a sad thing to say, but it's my story. My dad was a violent person in the family home. He wasn't able to control his emotions. And I met somebody who was just like my dad and got into a very violent relationship at the age of 15. And because I had nowhere to go, I stayed in that relationship for more than I should have done. And it caused a lot of harm, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I didn't have nowhere to go. And I remember going to and I will share this because it's my story. I do remember going to my dad's home with black eyes, and I asked my dad if he would let me come back into the family home, because there was foster care and there was social worker involvement, very dysfunctional family. And my dad said no, that if I came back, his wife would leave and his... I'd make my own life, and he wasn't prepared to give up his family home for me, which was fine. So I walked back down that path, which was probably only, a couple of metres, but it seemed like the longest path I'd walked down because I had to go back into that situation. And then I met somebody else, and, all I ever wanted was to be needed, wanted and loved. That's all I ever wanted. And I met somebody else and they took me under their wing, and I ended up getting pregnant at the age of 17. I had my daughter on just after my 18th birthday, and there was me and my daughter then. And I built a home. I did build a home, and with what I had, we can only work on the resources that we have at the time, can't we? And we did. I didn't drink at this time. Didn't drink. I wanted a home. I wanted that. I'd craved it. And we had a home for a few years, and then he left. And then I remember being in this flat that we had. I was 20 years of age. My daughter was 2, 3. And I remember she was walking on the mat. And I thought, oh, my God, I was a child myself. How am I going to cope? How am I going to cope? But I did cope.
You did.
And that's when I started drinking. My daughter was 3. Excuse me. I was 20, 21. And I took my first drink. And my first drink was Diamond White. And I was very, very, what's the word? I didn't know how to be, and when I took a drink, it kind of gave me some confidence. And it was the early 1990s, and it was the clubbing scene. And I remember meeting somebody else, and he went out into the clubs, and then I got into the Birmingham clubs, and that was the club scene in the early 90s. And that's where
that's when it took off.
It took off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that progress over the years then? So I wasn't. The club scene was very different when I was our age. So I'm not familiar with that. How did the drinking take off?
Well, for me, my alcoholism, it was a progressive illness. I was drinking and going out, and I kind of fitted in somewhere because I always wanted to fit in, you see. So I became part of this club scene, and I did it for a few years, and the priorities of wanting that family life, it was like I kind of fitted in somewhere else. And, my daughter, I was getting, people to look after, babysitters to look after my daughter so I could go out, and that's where it progressed. But it wasn't... I could say then I felt like I was managing it. I was managing the going out. But then the Monday mornings would come and I'd have my head in my hand and thinking, oh, my gosh. And that went on for a few years. I did a geographical then because my twin brother, he kind of was the quiet one. And he did everything properly. He finished school properly. At the age of 16, I didn't. He did his GCSEs, he went to college, university. I didn't. And he was studying in Plymouth, and I'd got myself into another dysfunctional relationship. And he said, well, don't you come down and move with me down to Plymouth? So I said, oh, okay. And 2 weeks I was gone. And me and my daughter, we went. I did a geographical, but that's when my drinking really took off.
Really?
Because I didn't have, you know, the same network, albeit would have been a dysfunctional network. And that's when my drinking took off.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was there 7 years.
Wow, down in Plymouth.
Mm-hmm.
I do know Plymouth. I did a bit of drinking down there back in the day. Yeah.
There's a pub on every corner, isn't there, in Plymouth?
There is. It was an old Navy.
Yeah.
It was a Navy town, wasn't it? Really. So yeah, there was. So how did that progress then? So you're out at the club scene in Birmingham. You're in Plymouth, and you've done your geographical. How did your drinking progress, and what was the consequences of that?
Okay, so then it really escalated because I felt very lonely. You know, it says that you know, the loneliness cripples us, and that's where it did. So I was seeking outward, going to the pubs. There was 2 pubs on the street. There was the Millbridge Inn and the Edgecombe Inn, and I was a regular in both of those pubs. And I could take my daughter in there, and I come very familiar and friendly with the people, and I just started drinking a lot, and that's when I realised that once I put a drink in me, then I couldn't stop. And you know, and there's the priorities change, don't they? And I think I used to think, well, I'd just try and claw it back, you know, and I could start to manage my own drinking, but it didn't work. And there'd be times where I would not drink for a while, but I was ending up in strange places, you know, waking up thinking, where am I? And you know, and people were concerned about me then because I'd disappear. And
were you living with your brother?
I was living with my brother. I got a place, and my brother left the halls of residence. He came to live with me, and we shared a house together. And then he met his girlfriend, who they're still together. And I didn't like that at the time, because it kind of broke that relationship. Yeah. And then it was that feeling abandoned again. That abandonment, that is a core wound of mine still today, that abandonment. And then it really escalated. And I ended up coming back home, and that's when I first got introduced to AA.
Okay. And when was that? You mentioned earlier on, I think 2005, did you?
Yeah, 2005. Yeah. So 2000, I came back from Plymouth. And I thought, I kept trying to get my life together, you know. I had the knowledge, but it was just like I didn't feel that I was worthy of anything, and anything that I started, I would never be able to continue, or I just, you know, I was always told that you might, because of the narrative that was told to me, by my dad, by these relationships, I had no self-belief. I didn't believe that I would amount to anything, or, you know, I could achieve, you know, or, you know, if you start something, you just continue on and do the best you can.
So what made you decide that you were drinking too much? Was it comments from your friends that you were drinking more than them, or did you realise that? Or
well, there was comments from my friends, and then you know, people would, at the end of the night, people would go home, but I would be looking for the part. And I kind of had an awareness myself. And the two things that brought me to AA was, one, I read in a magazine about a lady who went to a 12-step program, and there was like, she said her story. She didn't mention AA, but she said about a 12-step journey that she'd had. And there was a picture of her when she was drinking, and she had the bloated face, the red face, and that was me. That was you. And then there was a picture of her that looked like fresh, and it's inspired me. And I also had a friend who had been to NA, who had a problem with drugs, and so both those were I went online and 12-step program, and I went to my first meeting in 2021 in Rubery. It's not there now. And I remember going there, and I only went once and didn't go back again. So the seed of AA had been planted, but that illness of denial.
Why didn't you go back? It just wasn't for you. You weren't as bad as that lot.
Yeah, because I was a binge drinker, and my perception of an alcoholic was somebody who...
Backbencher.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't go back. And plus, it's that moving away from what's familiar. You know, it was kind of my security, it gave me the confidence to be able to do something. So even though it was giving me things in one hand that I perceived it to be, it was stripping me from others. And my priorities and the situations that I got myself into, you know, when I look back, it's quite sad. It's quite sad. But the seed had been planted.
Yeah. There was a bit of hope.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're ready for your first record now, Sharon.
Thank you.
The choices are really interesting. Elevate Me by Burns. We've never had stuff like this on the show, so where's this from?
It's from Spotify that I listen to.
Really?
Yeah. Have you listened to the track?
Yeah, I have.
What did you think?
Enjoy them.
Yeah.
They're not your standard, are they?
No. So, should we play this then? It's Burns and a track called Elevate Me.
You know I love you wounded heart, with all those scars where you were torn apart. When those shadows fall, oh, you stand so tall, your eyes above, and you raise me up. Ooh, you elevate me. You elevate me, yeah. When you saw me falling faster, deeper and deeper into disaster, you pulled me out. You pulled me out. Now you're the only thing that matters. You elevate me. You elevate me, yeah. You elevate me. You elevate me, yeah. Wake me up, wake me up, wake me up, wake me up, wake me up. Yeah, you elevate me,
It's all about you, like country extra.
Thanks for that, Billy. That was a nice track, Sharon. The bit I heard. It's not my. Never heard of them, if I'm honest. But hey, I'm a bit older than you. That's probably why. Okay, before the break, you were telling us that you'd gone into AA, but you decided it wasn't for you. Had you ever tried anything prior to that? When you realised that you were drinking too much, had you tried anything else? Any of the other sort of groups that, Aquarius or anything like that?
No, I did kind of try and manage it myself. It says in the
Yeah.
reading inspirational books.
And how did that go?
Kind of, it started me off well, and then I would tick the calendar to say, I haven't had a drink today, and there'd be just tick, 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 and I'd think, I'm not an alcoholic, I haven't got a problem. It was the external things, it was the home life, it was the relationships that I'd got into, always kind of putting it on everything external rather than actually looking at the core problem.
Yeah.
Exercise, the changing the drinks, thinking I won't drink Monday to Friday, but then I work, so I deserve a drink on a Friday like every normal person. But then, like it says, once you take that first drink, that phenomenon of craving came on, and then the consequences, in the step 1 where it says we are powerless over alcohol and our lives become unmanageable, I kind of had an awareness that my life was becoming unmanageable.
Right.
And there was like, somebody shared to me once in an American guy about the mustard seed. You just need to have that mustard seed of faith.
Yeah.
I think from the first meeting back in when I came back from Plymouth, that mustard seed of faith had been planted, and I had that. There was something in me, that seed, that spark, that wanted more for my life, for me and my daughter.
Yeah.
But I had to go back out for a few more years, and
And how did that progress?
it progressed quite bad, yeah. And then I remember thinking I need to go back to AA. And in 2005, I went back to AA, and since 2005, I have continued to come to AA, albeit I didn't put the drink down in 2005. But what I did do was it says in the traditions, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to stop. I didn't know what was going to happen when I stopped. But the mustard seed of faith was just try. And I did. I went, and are we allowed to say names on here of other members of?
You can. No.
Well, there was
not.
old timers that was there, and I went to my first meeting when I came back the second time was at Westheath, Friday Westheath meeting. This was in 2005, and I remember walking in. There was a gentleman there, and I cried all through the meeting, and I knew then that this is where I plant the seed now, and this is where I start to build my foundations. And I did. I had 2 years. I had 18 months, and then 2009, always kind of gravitate to the old timers, and an older lady who took me under my wing, who was my first sponsor. She said to me, Sharon, you're at a crossroads now. You can either go back. My daughter was 15. I was 32. You can either go back to the life that you're familiar with, or you can start your path of recovery. And I think it makes me quite emotional, actually. I started my path of recovery, and, I came in because I wanted to stop drinking, but AA has given me so much more. And, I can say the things that AA has given me, and I'm not saying, I look what I've done in recovery for ego. I'm saying, look what I've done in recovery because I came broken. I struggle still today, I do. Especially where it's relationships, but I've built a firm bedrock of recovery. And I see that in my house, which is my body, I say I'm coming back home. Sometimes I have to come back home, but home is where my body. In my home, there's 4 rooms, and my rooms are my emotional room, my physical room, my mental room, and my spiritual room. And my foundations are firmly being built on concrete, and God willing, if I look after each room in my home, in my body, and come to AA, I got a good chance. And God, they say God loves a trier.
Wow.
And for me, my recovery, my first sponsor, I won't say her name, but she died a long time sober. And she said to me, Sharon, in order to have self-esteem, you've got to have esteemable things. You've got to do esteemable things. She said, every year, you know, AA is a bridge to normal living. Start every year by doing a mood board or a mind map. You know, they change the names, don't they? Of what you want to achieve in your life.
Yeah.
Don't put your only dependency can be on a higher power. Don't put it on the man. Don't put it on, you know, what other people think. Because I like to seek that love, that validation, that acceptance, that approval. But it's not going to come from external. It's not going to come from the drink. It's not going to come from the clubs. It's not going to come from the man. It's not going to come from my family that I wanted to be perfect like the Waltons. It's not. I've got to build my own recovery with the help of other people who have walked the path. And I've got my maps in my house. Some have got pictures. I've cut out magazines, you know. But I started. And, oh wow, it's like... I didn't go to school and do my GCSEs, so I went and did my maths and English. I went to university and did a degree in business enterprise. I trained to be a yoga teacher. Me and my daughter, she trained to be a yoga teacher, and we teach yoga together. I did the yoga, I taught yoga at the Birmingham Convention, and that really touched me. I excelled in my job. I did the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was able, you know, there's a story in the back of the big book where Max puts the glasses on and looks at things in a different perspective. And 26 years that I wasn't able to go to my dad's home despite numerous tries. And rejection and abandonment is something I have to work on a daily basis sometimes. And, you know, my old sponsor, she said to me, you know, write a letter to your dad's wife. And I did. It was a short letter. I didn't tell my dad because my dad would have gone mental. He'd have said, no, don't do it because it would cause problems. And I did. And I wrote this letter in the October. And I posted it. Nothing came of it. And then at Christmas time, and this is probably going back 8 years ago now, my dad rang me at Christmas and he said, what are you doing for Christmas? And I said, oh, I don't. I said what I was doing. And he said, my dad's wife's Mandy. He said, Mandy would like to invite you for Christmas dinner. And 26 years I'd been excluded from that family. Maybe some part of me's never wanted to go back because it was a sick family, but it's like the ripple effect, isn't it? You put AA in the core and it ripples out to families. And I didn't go then, but I did go in the January. And my brothers and ourselves, we came back to the family home, albeit we're not the Waltons by any stretch of the means. My dad's an old man now. My dad's 76. No, 78.
Just a baby.
An older man, should I say. And, you know, he had cancer. And when I look at my dad today, I don't look at him in the same eyes as I did when he was growing up. This fellowship, AA's fellowship, has taught me how to forgive. And my daughter was 15 when I came into AA, and my sponsor said to me, Sharon, don't get in a relationship because I wanted to be loved. Let AA love you until you can love yourself. Get to know yourself, get to know your daughter, build your life back from when you weren't shown in your family how to, you wasn't taught in your family. But you can start, anyone can start to learn something. If it's important to you, you will learn. And I did. And I went to I was 2 years sober, Dave, and I wanted to go to Bali. I'd seen it on Eat, Love, Pray, and I wanted to go to Bali. So I've just got a basic income. So I saved £50 a month. and I had it on my mind board. I want to go to Bali.
Yeah.
So I was 2 years sober. I said to a lady, I can't believe I'm going to Bali on my own. And she went, you're not going on your own, Sharon. You're taking your higher power with you. And I went to Bali, and I was so scared when I got there. I went for 3 weeks. I was 2 years sober. I was 40 years of age, and I was in Bali, and I shared a meeting, and I got in touch with Worldwide AA before I went, hooked up with a lady. She took me to a meeting, and I shared in Bali my experience, strength and hope, and they had somebody interpret it for me.
Wow.
And then, you know, the more you achieve and believe, the more, and you set your goals. I've walked around Great Britain. I love a holiday on my own, Dave. In the summer holidays, I take me, my higher power, my backpack, and I book youth hostels, because I'm not a material person. Book youth hostels, because in order, you got to get from A, B to C. I set my little plan, and I've walked around Great Britain in the summer.
Wow.
The Pembrokeshire Coastal Path, the South West Coastal Path. Do you know, those moments, the simplicity of those moments, they touch me. And what touches me the most, Dave, is that my daughter, I can be there for. I only ever had one daughter. I never wanted to put another child through what I'd put my daughter through. She's seen things that she shouldn't have seen. Mum with black eyes, mum broken, you know, and I came into AA to stop drinking, and AA has repaired not only my immediate family, but also my, you know, extended family. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, my brother, my mum leaving, it caused a trauma in the family. It did. Yeah. And my brother, he was married, and that relationship broke down. He lost his job at Rover. We've all had our struggles, the three of us. And he got onto drink, and he didn't get it. I took him to AA 3 years ago. As I say, he was found dead. He was 56 years of age. And my mum, she left. She left for drink. She left for men. And she died of this illness as well. She died in 2011. Of pancreas cancer. She was a big drinker. Now, I'm the only one in my family who's in recovery. Yeah. But, you know, it's recovered me, and my daughter's very special to me. And I've had to learn to forgive myself for the trauma that I've put her through. But I could never have done it without AA. Yeah. Without AA, and it's, you know, I didn't mean to get emotional, and it's not tears of like victim anymore. It's tears of gratitude. It's tears of repair. It's tears of grief, because when my mum left, it was all about my dad. And I was running. I had, like I said, about my little house, my physical house. You know, I do. My yoga and meditation is a massive part of my recovery, massive. And also running. And I was running this morning, and that's where I connect with my higher power. I do sit down and I do kneel sometimes and pray, but I connect mostly from my higher power outside. And I just feel grateful, and I just know that I never had an opportunity to grieve. And they say the good thing about AA and the recovery is you get your emotions.
The bad thing is you get your emotions back. Yeah, I've heard that one before. Yeah, it's true, very true, absolutely true.
Yeah, and you know, and I have to grieve this stuff. And you know, today I'm okay who I am. I make mistakes, but I'm okay, I think.
One day at a time.
Yes.
Just one day at a time. I think we're ready for your next record now.
Second track, yeah.
Second track.
Here's a Thunderstorm Artist. Where are you digging these up from? All I can see is Grey's Anatomy version, so obviously this was a soundtrack on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you.
Let's have a listen to this then.
Hope you enjoy it.
call me a fool for thinking maybe I could get over, or I could be stronger than the fear in my mind. See, Mama always told me I was meant to be a light in the darkness, but I feel like a candle waiting for a flame. And she said, keep on getting stronger, keep on getting wiser, my dear. Don't give in to the forces, don't succumb to your fear. Oh, sing with me now for the change I can become. Oh, sing with me now for the change has just begun. But do you see me, oh Lord, when I look to you for an answer? I need you to tell me how to carry on. And he said, keep on getting stronger, keep on getting wiser, my dear. Don't give in to the forces, don't succumb to your fear. Oh, sing with me now for the change I can become. Oh, sing with me now for the change has just begun. Show me now if I've lost my way. I reach for freedom from within my cage. Search for meaning whenever I'm afraid. Oh, sing with me now for the change I can become. Oh, sing with me now for the change has just begun. Oh, sing with me now for the change that can be done. Oh, sing with me now for the change has just begun.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.
Thanks for that again, but another nice track, Sharon. Another one I've never heard of, but here we go.
We'll be using them.
We'll be using them. Before we come back to you, can I ask Dec to cover the contact details for anybody that would be listening out there, please?
Absolutely, Dave. Yeah, wonderful song so far, Sharon. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Yeah, there is various ways to contact us. If you go onto the Alcoholics website, just search for Alcoholics Anonymous UK, and it will take you to the home page. And in there, there's a bunch of information. You can find a free phone telephone number, 0800 9177 650. That's 0800 9177 650. There's also an email address, if you'd rather email us, which is help@aamail.org. If you'd like to come along to a meeting, there's a little find a meeting area where you type in your town or postcode and the day of the week, and it will give you all the information of the meetings closest to you and the times. And finally, there's a live chat feature. So if you don't actually feel that you want to talk to somebody on a phone or anything, you can just type in your questions and people will reply to you in real time. So if you're struggling, please get in touch with any of the ways just mentioned. Thanks.
Thanks, Dec. That's great. Thanks, Sharon. Can you you were telling us about your recovery there. Can you tell us how long it is since you had your last drink?
Okay, so my last drink was 14 years, so God willing, I'll be 15 this year.
Wow, that's
A
fantastic.
teenager.
Hey, that's fantastic. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
And it's all started a day at a time,
Time.
and the days become weeks, weeks become months, and months become years. And, you know, time goes so quick.
I know.
And my daughter's older than me when I first came into recovery.
Can you tell us how it feels to have that length of sobriety? And I know we do emphasise this one day at a time. Billy often comments on this, and it is just for one day. But, you know, that's a lot of days. It's a lot of days. How does that feel?
It's been a lot of growing days, and as I say, I feel like I'm a teenager now. Probably am mentally, emotionally sometimes, but it's been rewarding. It has been rewarding, and when sometimes it's only when I'm doing a main share or when I do some self-reflection that I think, from where I came from to where I am today. I'm still very young at heart, and I do like having a young heart. There's an acronym that somebody shared at a meeting the other day, and it was MELT, and it was saying that the M stands for meetings, E stands for exercise, the L for laughter. Now I've forgot the T. I forgot now. But
we'll look that up.
But anyway, yeah. When I think of now, the where I am today,
it's life changing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is life changing.
And it's like it's grown me into a child, into a woman.
Yeah,
the growing up that I've never had to do, because I had to grow up so fast in my circumstances, and
you've had to get through that. Yeah.
And it's only through other people that have walked this recovery, because when I came into AA and I sat in my first meeting and I cried all the way through, it's like you sit with people who are like-minded, because alcoholism, for me, it's isolating. It makes you feel the shame, it makes you feel the guilt, and the consequences. And I was forever in a cycle of that negative dialogue of like how rubbish I was. But in AA, the fellowship and my network, albeit it's only small, has carried me, and all it took was the discipline, the commitment, the responsibility. My sponsor, my current sponsor, says your recovery is your responsibility.
Absolutely.
And she says to me, remember why you came into AA, and you came into AA to get a life. And, I have a life today, albeit it's very simple and it's manageable for me. I have to feel safe, and it is. I enjoy my recovery, although some days, it says, doesn't it, in the reading, we are not inspired at all times.
No.
And sometimes
I think there's one of the guys at my local meetings, one of his expressions is that AA is, and he's nowhere near as long as you are, but he's got a few years in. AA has given him another shot at life.
Yeah.
And it's a better life. And the other thing he always says, bless him, and I quote him, what he's got now is contentment. You know, when you're in the madness of drinking, you know that everything is hassle, isn't it? You're causing problems and you're upsetting your family, and it's like the pebble in the pond, isn't it? Not only do you get better, you get well, but that pebble, those waves that cover all your family, your closest, and to the wider range, and it's a family illness. And when you're practicing alcoholic, the families suffer, and when you get well, they get well too. They see you get well, and it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, the most priceless thing is going to bed and being able to sleep at night. That peace in your mind. And life is life. Life does happen, but I know that I have to do certain things in AA. I have to regularly attend meetings. My first sponsor, she said, Sharon, you've got to be part of the fellowship. You need to go to 3 meetings a week, one of them being a step meeting. And she said, and you attend, even if you don't, because if you don't turn up, and everybody thinks, it's too cold or I can't be bothered. When the newcomer comes in, who's going to be there for them? And it's about carrying the message and doing service, sponsoring, and helping others.
That's how it's worked over the years, hasn't it? It started off with 2 people in a hotel bar talking to each other, and it's just grown. Where there's now millions of people worldwide, and it saves so many, millions and millions of lives it's saved. And it just works by people sharing, I always say in AA, in an AA meeting, you know, there's not trained counsellors or doctors or whatever there. There might be one or two in the fellowship, but, you know, everybody there is, you know, if new people come in, they should feel at home because everybody in that room is an alcoholic. You know, they're never going to hear anything. They're not going to be frightened to share anything that they've ever done because, you know, somebody in that room has done it and maybe 10 times worse. So, you know, there's that hope there, isn't there?
Yeah.
That hope, and it's. But as you say, you've got to put the action in. You've got to want it. You've got to get to meetings. I know you do some service as well within the fellowship, and that's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my shame and my guilt and my remorse that I came in with, I carried for years, but then I learned to forgive myself, and then I'm not ashamed to say my story now because my story will help other women
people. Yeah,
and know
absolutely.
that there is a way out,
Yeah.
and
No.
you know, and I won't be afraid to say
No.
my warts and all, obviously to the right people, but
Well,
you know, on
we
a
do.
one-to-one to help another
I think we all do. I
member.
mean, I've shared stuff in AA meetings over the years that I probably wouldn't share with my immediate family, you know, because but you do, and it has that sort of effect, doesn't it? That you just want to be there. And we don't do it if you're doing service and whatever in meetings. It's not an ego thing, you know. It's because we just want to give back. We want to give back what we've been given over the years, and to help other people in recovery. And it's a beautiful thing.
And give
It's a
somebody
beautiful thing.
hope.
Yeah. So you've got 14 years under your belt now. You're living proof. You know, you've said that you're happy in what you do, albeit you maybe have a simple life and you have your mind maps and your plans, and which is lovely. So that, you know, there is a life without drink. You know, we can enjoy life without drink. What would you say to people who are maybe listening out there? What advice would you give them? Maybe if they're thinking, "Blimey, I can relate to that. I used to drink like that, and maybe I'm drinking too much." What advice would you give them?
What comes to mind when you say that straight away is that you're worth it. You know, it doesn't matter where you've come from or, you know, the background, the story. There is a place to go to, and you know, and although it's the hardest thing to do to make contact with somebody, but it's the start. And whatever happens when making that decision, to just putting one foot in front of the other, and all will reveal itself. And sometimes, I actually in my book, my daily read, I must have wrote going back at the beginning, and it said in there, make a decision, and then it said, whatever happens, just keep walking the path. You know that you can't. There is a way out, and sometimes if you can't walk, just stand still and then start walking when you feel strong enough to walk. And you know, I know not many people get AA or are scared. You know, I've been there and I know, but if my message would be, it's doable, and you know, you can have two lives like we mentioned earlier on. You know, you can come in and have a whole new life, and I'm a testimony along with everybody else who has been in my path with recovery, that there is a recovered life or a recovering life, a journey that, you know, I just would give somebody hope to make the call, to go to a local meeting. You know, sometimes we don't now, you know, there's the Zoom meetings and you don't have to go in person. Some people can start by just listening and getting that that identification. There's lots of Zoom meetings. Sometimes it's hard to walk through the doors of AA.
It's very hard.
But it can start by just listening or YouTube and just getting some identification, familiarising, you know, that there is a way out.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you mentioned Zoom. I mean, Zoom came in when lockdown, when we had the pandemic, and you know, it was an absolute lifesaver. We've got people locally where I am. We call them our Zoom babies. We've got people that came in to the fellowship on Zoom because there were no live meetings. And some of those people I remember, because I used to go on them, you know, they'd never put the camera on, or they'd never speak, but they listened and they absorbed what was being said. And then when things opened up, you know, when we opened up after the pandemic, we were limited on numbers. We were only allowed 15 people in a meeting. We had to take bookings for that, you know. But people started to come, and these people have got it, and you know, they're a big part of the AA community now, which is wonderful to see. And I actually think, albeit meetings were stopped during the pandemic, I think AA came out of that pandemic stronger because of the way it was handled. It was a lovely thing. So
you can't beat. I did go on Zoom, and then you can't beat a physical meeting.
No,
because but it's an alternative because some people can't make.
No, I mean, we've got
meetings,
people. You know, we've got people locally that, you know, maybe can't drive at night and or, you know, physically they're not well, you know, but they can always get some sort of support online with Zoom. And we have a great phone network as well. You know, we always say, you know, before you pick up a drink, pick up the phone. And that always works really well. So so given the length of, you know, you're 14 years in, I mean, I've heard people say in meetings, you know, we've got one guy at Kidderminster, bless him, he's 52 years sober.
Wow.
And he still does 4 meetings a week. And people say to him, why do you still go to meetings? Are you not cured? You're 14 years in. You're not cured.
No, and I still continue to go to meetings because it's the medicine that I need to be able to function in life and keep emotionally balanced. Try to. Sometimes that doesn't always work. And to have the message for the newcomer. And I will never, for me, my recovery always it unravels itself. I've worked the steps, but it unravels itself. You know, it's a bit like they say, don't know the onion. It just taking the layer.
Take the layer off at a
And
time.
without AA, I just know that I would, left to my own devices, I could easily go back to what's comfortable. And I want to continue doing my mind maps because I still want to just...
I think the beauty of AA I've found is it doesn't just help you stay away from the drink. It helps you cope with whatever life throws at you. Whatever life throws at you, we can cope with that without picking up a drink. And for me, that's miraculous. That's miraculous. I think we're... Are we getting...
Well, you've got a couple of minutes. Can I ask you a question, a very quick question? Because you're a twin.
Yes.
Did you use your twin as a tool to attack? And the only reason I ask is my daughter who we lost was a twin.
Yes.
And she used Ruth as a wall that she could attack all the time. Everything was Ruth's fault. Everything was... Or was your relationship different?
It was slightly different in fact that I always felt in the shadow of my brother because he kind of seemed to get the life together and I was a bit more destructive. And so I always thought that I was in the shadow of him and he always got it together. So there was a bit of... I was jealous of him, resentful. Yeah. But we've always had a very close relationship and I've had to kind of let him be who he wants to be because I mothered him. I was resentful when he got his girlfriend. Yeah. And I've had to give him space. But no, I wouldn't say we've had our fights, don't get me wrong. I remember once when we were growing up and he jumped on me and he broke my arm and we had our moments. But, you know, I got a very close relationship with my brother.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful. Absolutely brilliant. As usual, as per usual. We're going to go out with...
Can I just say, Sharon, thanks ever so much for your openness and honesty. It's been... absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I hope somebody gets something from my message.
I'm sure they will. They will. So it's Bree Kennedy, Whirlwind.
Yes, thank you.
This isn't Brian Kennedy, is he?
No.
Oh, I know Brian Kennedy. I don't know Bree Kennedy. So let's go out and then it's Bree Kennedy, and it's a track called Whirlwind.
Last night I went out drinking. Wish I had more time to sleep in. Lay with him till he's awake. I wanna stay, but I'm always leaving. Gotta make more money this Friday, so I can just let go and fly away. Spend it all, wonder where it's at. I lose track, yeah, isn't that sad way? When the wind starts blowing, can't stay in the moment. When the walls start closing in, here I go again, caught in the whirlwind. Funny how some plans don't work out. Had a plan, but it turned inside out. People change and you don't know why. You think I would've learned that by now. When the wind starts blowing, can't stay in the moment. When the walls start closing in, here I go again, caught in the whirlwind. It's the never knowing that keeps me going. Guess that's the way I've always been. Here